Marhaba, and welcome to the Matrix Green Pill, where real people connect.
Hello and welcome back to the Matrix Green Pill podcast. My name is Hilmarie Hutchison and I'm the CEO of Matrix Public Relations. Today I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Shireen. Welcome back again, Shireen. How are you today?
Hello, Hilmarie. I am great. Thank you. And yes, I am again excited to bring you guys a wonderful and talented guest today. Allow me to introduce you to Leena Kewlani. Leena is a talented artist, an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, and a media veteran. Leena, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's lovely to have you. So, Leena, we know a little bit about your background already, but for our audience, could you please tell us about you, your background, and how you ended up here in the UAE?
It's okay. I come from an Indian family, but I was born and brought up in Freetown, Sierra Leone in West Africa. I lived there for about 11 years, and then my dad moved here to create and join a family business. And from then I have been here. I've gone to school here at Cambridge High School, which is now known as Cambridge International, I believe. And then I went to university at American University in Dubai. And from there, I just joined the media industry.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah, so you've pretty much been here the majority of your life.
Yes, 33 years.
Incredible. Okay, so speaking of, your career, if I'm not mistaken, you have over 22 years of experience in media and advertising. Could you tell us about how you got into that?
So at AUD, they had this incredible advertising and marketing program. And, we were the first batch, if I may put it. We were the first graduating batch of American University of Dubai. And they gave us opportunities to do internships and actually get a hang of the advertising world. I landed up doing media simply because nobody liked math. So everybody else landed up in client servicing, and I was the only one that got into media internships. And then honestly, from there, I joined the company that did give me the internship, which is BBDO Media. And my first client that I worked on was Pepsi. Then from there, I moved to Reflection Advertising for a year, and then I joined multinational global ad agencies like Starcom MediaVest, Wavemaker, and then my last stint, if I want to put it, was at one of the biggest media groups here, which is called the Choueiri Group.
Excellent.
So yeah, I've been blessed to do a lot in 22
and tell me,
years.
In those 22 years, how much did you see the industry change?
Oh, dramatically. It like when I started, I was a buyer. Somebody that would just buy media space. From there, we evolved to become planners. We understood strategies. We started tapping into data, understanding consumer behaviors. And then once digital kicked in, the whole industry changed. Once, if I want to put content and branded integrations and sports marketing, entertainment, sponsorships, it changed dramatically. So where I started at university and where I left 2 years ago, it's like you've done every department possible, because you had to do it to grow, to learn. Otherwise, you would be stagnant. And I was very blessed that I had really great mentors as bosses who kept pushing me to do new things, and I was okay to do it because I knew they had my back. I wasn't scared in that respect. So I would just jump head on and just keep learning. And that's the industry just grew. But I think the biggest change came when people understood what content meant, because we were creating content from 2009. Nobody knew what content meant at 2009. We were doing web series in 2011, full on productions. Nobody understood that at that time. And once Facebook, Instagram, all of it kept kicking in, and it just evolved. So it's no longer that I would like an ad in Gulf News or I would like a TV spot. It's just become so much more on how we talk to a consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with all these changes, I'm sure that you found certain pros and cons within that change, So from your experience, what are a few that you could mention?
So I think one of the things that really, I would say that leaves me a bit heartbroken is we had a lot of titles and stations, or, a lot of media that came with heritage, and they disappeared because they didn't adapt. They didn't grow. They didn't change. And change is natural. We grow every day as a human being. We have to adapt and change in our daily lives. I mean, the biggest change we've all gone through last year has been COVID. That's, the whole globe went through change, whether we wanted it or not.
Absolutely.
But just being able to adapt and learn is the pro of this industry, because every industry needs to grow. So the pro of it is, I would look at it as it's an opportunity for you to learn skills, learn new things, keep growing, especially from your juniors. I mean, I'm not hesitant to ask a 5-year-old or even somebody on my team saying, I don't know how to do this. And I think that is the pro of this industry, where the younger generation that comes in, they come in with so much more than we had. And the con of it is people didn't adapt.
Right. And I think that's true for many industries, isn't it? It's not just in the media and advertising and even PR space where things have changed so dramatically. Many industries have changed, and those and the companies that are willing to change with it are still around. And as you say, sadly, many of the previous giants have not survived because they've been too slow to change.
Yeah. And especially I think COVID was the place, where everything, like, it was an unearthing, an unrooting. If you hadn't changed, or you hadn't put in those seeds of change in your organization, you struggled.
Absolutely. So talking about change, we know you've also gone through quite a significant change. So what was the catalyst for your change? And can you tell us about that?
So I honestly never thought I would do my own business. Despite over the years, everybody telling me I should have created something. I didn't know it would be art, to be honest. But I was just happy going to work, doing something, working on different clients, getting a, salary coming in, and, the typical rat race. I was happy, to be honest. But at some point in the last, I think it was 2017 and 18, where I realized, okay, I'm happy, but I'm not fulfilled. There's a difference.
Right.
And I'm, what is my legacy? What am I leaving behind, and what am I really wanting to do? What does my heart desire if I want to go that route? And I realized more and more, I wanted to teach kids, and I wanted to sell my work. I wanted to start with selling my work. So it was either you do a job or you sell your art. You couldn't have it both ways. And then, funnily enough, in those years, I believe if you ask the universe for things, it starts to show you things. So I got approached by a few galleries, and they were like, I would look at them and I'm like, guys, you need a website. You need to do this on your social media. This is the new trend. But they weren't willing to change. And I was offering help for free. I'm being very honest. I was like, I'll build your website for you. I will show you what to do. It will help us, all of us artists. But they weren't willing. And I think that frustrated me a bit. And I was talking to my dad about it. And, because he's like, you got these artworks. What are you doing with it? And during my job, I actually got trained to be a preschool teacher as well. So wow. At some point in my life, I could teach kids. I wanted that education within me to understand, to just be better equipped to handle young kids. So then I kind of looked back and I said, okay, you know what? It's time. Maybe I should take 2-3 years off, go do what I really want to do, build it up. And then I can come into my industry. That's fine. Content, I'm still, it will help me in a different way of growing. But at least I could do something. And then from there, I thought, and I spoke to my business partner, her and I used to paint on the weekends. So we would talk about this all the time. And earlier we thought we'd have a proper gallery, but the investment of having a full-fledged gallery, like the rent and everything that goes with it was just too much. And we were like, don't want that between us. And when I started talking to her more about the online space and the e-commerce space and how things work, she was like, let's do this together. So she left her job, I left my job, and we decided, okay, we'll do this. Maybe 10, 12. If we get 20 artists, we'll be happy. We just didn't realize within a couple of months, we were 80. And then all of a sudden, now we're 150. Yeah, we're 150 artists.
That's amazing.
And that means, and just from the UAE, and that's hidden talent. There's so much creativity here, and we just don't tap into it. We talk about the same people, the same things, the same everything, but the woman sitting at home working in PR, or the guy who's a pilot, or the guy who's a chef, and he's a watercolor artist, and that one's a mixed media, she's a mother, they're doing resin art. No, they don't want to leave their jobs, or they can't leave their jobs to go just do art. So I guess it had to be us two doing it, and then from there it just picked up. And
that's absolutely brilliant.
It's been humbling. It's been humbling, to be honest.
It sounds like you've created the X factor for art. You're giving regular people a platform to show their talents without them having to leave their regular jobs. Yes. I love that.
Yeah. It shouldn't take a Leena leaving her job. I mean, I was willing to do this for free. Imagine, I was telling the guys, I'm like, guys, sit with me. I'll show you everything. I come from a digital background. Please use this. And the lack of change made me realize how important change is.
Yeah, this is lovely.
Absolutely.
Excellent
It was
idea.
probably just a comfort zone thing for them. Maybe they were afraid of.
I was afraid, right?
Not working out.
Yeah, even I have been afraid. No, but they were doing galleries, they were doing exhibitions, but they weren't willing to go into a new space, which I understand. And I mean, even for me, it's been very scary. I mean, I've left a high-paying job.
Yeah.
High-paying career. Where maybe 2 years down the line, I would have been a CEO of something, of a global company or of something. But it was also a massive change for me and even for my partner. But I guess we just felt that this was our calling. We had to do this. And the more I worked on it, the more I realized that space doesn't just tend to adults, how the kids need it more than anybody. They need it. And I think that's driven me more to do more for them.
Amazing. Okay, we will talk about what you've been doing for the kids as well, because I definitely want to touch on that. Let's talk about this whole passion of art. So you mentioned that, you've always been passionate about it, but what exactly sparked that passion for you, to go into the art industry and be an artist yourself?
Funnily enough, I know a lot of people won't believe this, but I was a very quiet child growing up in Africa. My mom would leave me for hours, come back, and I would be exactly where she left me. But I would be drawing or painting or sketching. I would be doing something. I would be creating imaginary worlds out of Lego. I would be doing just paper, pen, color pencils is all I needed. And I would do anything out of it. And I think that was my way of expressing it. And my mom understood that. Even though I'm closer to my father, my mom understood that the only way I expressed anything within me was through that medium. So as I grew older and I was 21, I had just started my, I was 21. I had just started my jobs. She started pushing me to go to these weekend art classes, because at that time in Dubai, there was just very few places that taught you art. So she found a teacher, and I would go on a Friday and I would get very upset. That's my only day to sleep. But somehow she's like, no, go do this. And I learned oil paints there. And then my dad got me books from India. We had no YouTube. So I still have those books. And I learned acrylic and glass painting of books, reading and trying and practicing. And I realized as I kept doing this, that this was me, more and more me. So when people would go out partying or clubbing on the weekends, I was just so happy to have a day off and just paint. And I think that stayed with me all throughout my years, and all my cousins knew it, my friends knew it, that was my sacred space. This is where I became me. And then I could go out on a Sunday to work and tackle 18 hours a day, no worries. But I needed that one day, half a day, to go back into my space and just recharge, rejuvenate. That's where my whole love for art came through.
So it's originated from your childhood. This wasn't something that you only discovered recently or something like that. So
No.
It's been your passion calling kind of for a while.
Yeah, for a while. That's the only thing I knew and understood. I wish I'd had a lot of professional training and teachers growing up, but life is meant to do what it's meant to do. You have a path, you have a destiny, and these were the teachers were meant to come at the time I was probably ready to grow up. But yeah, for me, it's something I've always known about me. Is everybody knows. I mean, they've even traced it down. Funnily enough, both sides. One of my cousins has actually gone down to my mom's side of the family and my father's side of the family to see who had art within them. There was nobody.
Oh, wow. I was going to say art is in your DNA, but it sounds like it's not in your DNA, but it's
first
your
generation.
No, she actually literally went checking every single, she's done that exercise. And she came back, she goes, man, there's one of you. So it's adopted. You must be adopted.
That's
switched.
That's amazing. And you know what? A fantastic outlet to have a way to express yourself.
It is. Oh, yeah. Truly,
it's funny that you mentioned going to an art teacher as a kid. So my mom actually put me and my little sister into it as well, and only one of us has actually become an artist now, even though I was enjoying it and it was a great outlet, and of course it brought out my creativity. I don't think it sparked the same feeling within me that it did for her, but she's now studying fine art in London. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that is brilliant. Now, Leena, let's get back to talking about Artazar. It's certainly a very interesting name. Can you tell us what the name is all about?
So it took us a while to come up with this one. I think it took us close to 2 months. We brainstormed, God knows, hundreds and thousands of names. But the way it came about was one fine day arte actually originates from Europe, mostly from Italy. And it's the Italian word for art, but it's an art movement word in the 1960s. And it was characterized by the experimentation of simple everyday materials as paper, rags, and twigs that you use to create something. So we loved that concept where, it comes from something homemade, because that's who we were, homegrown artists. And zar comes from the word bazaar. And when you put it together, it came as Artazar. And the more we said it, the more it rolled off our tongues, the more we realized this is who we are. Excellent. We are an art bazaar online. And
fantastic.
That's Artazar.
That's what I thought as well. I thought it was a mix between art and bazaar. Wasn't sure about the E in the middle, but yeah.
So when we went looking for names, we couldn't find any that we liked. Everything was so generic. And we just wanted a name, like something that we could stand for. And we started looking for the word art in every single language. We went down to Chinese and Japanese, trying to see how to pronounce it. And I think somewhere we stumbled across Italy and France, and that's where
Italy is a big one for art, though. So that's actually really great. I know my sister loves going there because of all the art that they have, and all of it that goes down all the way to Rome and beyond.
For me, Italy is it's a pilgrimage. Just going to the Vatican, walking through the streets of Rome specifically, going to Florence, and seeing those Renaissance masters, it just blows me. I mean, the talent that they had there. You walk into an unsuspecting little church and they'll say, hi, this has been done by Raphael. Oh, that has been done by Borromini. That's by Botticelli. And you're like, wow, it's in a small, unassuming little church.
Yeah, incredible.
It's incredible.
Amazing.
Leena, I do want to ask, okay, obviously Artazar is a great platform. What exactly do you hope to achieve with it?
So Artazar, for me, I just want it to be the home of artists, right? I want every single artist to know they have a home. This website has been created where they can have their own mini website within us. Everything is taken care of. I want them to do what they do best, which is create, have their jobs, have their families, do whatever is necessary without worrying about the back-end mechanics of how to get things to work.
So would you say it's pretty easy to sign up on the website for them?
Yeah, it's just a form. And once they get approved by the curators, we start uploading their artworks. And, it's pretty simple. And the whole website, the way we've programmed it and worked it, is to make sure that it's a home to every single artist. So they can just send out their profile link and it'll tell you about this artist and all the artworks they have available with us. So
are they able to sell it as well?
Yes.
Oh,
it is.
okay.
It is a full-fledged e-commerce website.
Okay.
People can buy online, put in their credit card details. They can do cash on delivery. Up to them. It's we've kept it
Amazing.
As open as possible. We introduced virtual exhibitions during COVID as well, and we hosted that on the website. So as and when things start to evolve and change, we start to incorporate it into our site, just to make sure that there's opportunities here if you choose to tap into it. On the other hand, I want everybody to know Artazar as a place to go and buy art from emerging artists, and something that fits your budget no matter what. You want to commission a piece, you have a wall, you have 500 dirhams, you have 5,000 dirhams, there is something for everybody in there. You're looking for abstract, you're looking for Indian, you're looking for Arabic, you're looking for calligraphy, you're looking for fine art, you're looking for contemporary, it's there. You're looking for something for a child's nursery, it's there. So we're trying to grow and build partnerships as we each and every day as we go through. We have some goals for this year, hoping to get through that and just give them more and more opportunities to buy and sell. I want it to be that marketplace.
Incredible. And, to talk back to the point that you made earlier about the hidden talents that you were surprised to find here in the UAE, would you say that the art sphere in the UAE has been growing rapidly?
Oh, yeah. So, UAE is one of those countries who I have to give credit where they're visionaries, right? We've just gone to Mars and it's incredible what a small country can do. So as an art sphere, it kickstarted about 20 years, it's becoming a space for these emerging artists and art galleries from high-end and affordable pieces, right? So you have the Christie's and the Sotheby's who entered 2006, 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and they have contributed a lot. And then you have Louvre that came in to help educate, especially with all the programs and workshops and everything they have. Then you have Al Sarkal and Tashkil who are enabling this vibrant community. And then you have the government that's eased up or made our life so easy in being able to create something like Artazar, where it's, you get things in place and it gets done. And they have a vision, they have a commitment to cultural activities. And from there you have World Art, the IFC Art Nights that spur up. And all of this allows the artist here, whether you're professional or whether you're somebody at home working a job, you have all these avenues that keep popping up where you can bring out your work and showcase it. And it's grown in the last 20 years because earlier to have an exhibition was such a big deal. It was so hard. You couldn't, they would ask you, I had been asked, have you exhibited before? Oh, you haven't. Oh, sorry, we can't take you. Like, well, somebody has to take me if I haven't exhibited before, There has to be somebody who would be interested in what I do. But now I think those barriers are being broken down where they realize talent comes from anywhere. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter if you studied art or didn't study art. Talent is being recognized. And I think UAE has enabled this entire art sphere, this entire art movement.
Yes. And with Artazar, you've given artists a platform, an opportunity to exhibit without, as you say, having to know the background or the technical know-how or have the right connections. Anyone can be featured on your website.
Exactly. And it's, the thing is, and I say this to people, please go ahead and have your website, but there comes a responsibility of creating that website. It's a baby. It just doesn't stop there. it's a starting point for any business.
Right.
Okay, so you've created a website. Then what? You need to drive traffic to it. You need to start doing payment gateways. You need to start enabling people. You need to start doing things with your website. Otherwise, it's just a static page.
Right. It takes a lot of behind the scenes work people don't realize.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
And it's so much work. Like when I was, we built the website ourselves. We didn't hire anybody.
Wow.
And and just the coding, just understanding part of the coding, part of, the systems. How do you do this? Okay, fine. The first thing took me 2 hours. I'm like, okay, I can't do this every time for 2 hours. There must be a faster way. And then breaking those tasks down and finding ways through it, so that 2 hours something that took me the first time takes me 10 minutes now.
But that's the
right?
Fantastic. But that's the good thing about you being open to learning, open to new challenges.
Yes, and that's what I tell people. I said, you have to be open. You have to be open to change. You have to be open to learning, because when I was in the industry, the way brands collected data has now changed in 2 years.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And it's changed. Facebook's changing. The algorithms for Instagram change every 3 to 4 months. So you've barely managed it once, it changes again. The way Google promotes your products keeps changing. So that is staying abreast of all those changes and incorporating it back in. And that in itself is a task for any business.
Yes, absolutely. So just linking back to what we were talking about earlier, with everything changing and everything going digital, do you see the art industry also changing? I mean, for the younger generation, is the era of painting over? Are they all just going to do things digitally?
Actually, I don't think so. I think digital is not going away, and I'll give you an example. So we have 2 children in our portfolio who belong to one of our artists. He's their father, and those 2 children paint a canvas, and then they have the capability of creating Instagram filters by themselves using that canvas as a base, and they're 9 and 13 years old.
Oh wow, excellent.
So they are taking something that they do and making something digital, engaging piece of content or engaging piece of filter out there. And I don't think that's changing. Yes, digital art has become a big thing, but I still believe in my heart that something that is made by hand, a piece of sculpture, pottery, painting, I don't think that's going away. I think it's just, it will go through a twist of modernization, but I don't think it will go. So it's just very similar to, if you want to use a media example or analogy, television. The TV programs are still there, but how they've had to extend themselves out to create different pieces of content and to engage people to watch them, I think that's something that's going to happen with art, or is happening with art. Another thing I saw, which was unbelievable, 2 years ago in Lisbon, and you have an artist who uses AR technology to create a beautiful painting live, and her work is displayed at Louvre.
Oh wow!
I think that blew my mind. I still have that video, and I think every time I kind of go through a phase, I just switch it on, and I'm like, look at the possibilities right here. That's what the children are going to create tomorrow. So you need to be game for that.
Amazing. And speaking of, the children of tomorrow, as you said, could you give us a few of the examples of the opportunities that you create for the artists of tomorrow?
So we do a lot of work with kids. And by that, I mean, we started online classes last year while they were sitting at home, because we realized they needed that space to express themselves, because their lives just went through a massive change, and we were happy to do that. So we do a lot of online and offline classes with them. That's the first thing. We make sure our teachers are very giving. So whatever knowledge we have, we are able to pass it back to them. Nothing should be held back. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is we create opportunities for them to display their work. And this started even before COVID, where we were talking with the kids and they really wanted to do this. And then COVID hit, and they would call me and they're like, we did this painting. I'm like, I know, but we need to put it up somewhere. We'll find you the space, don't worry. And the positivity that came out of that child, the confidence that resonated with them. I wasn't that confident at 7 years old. If somebody asked me, how did you do this? I don't think I could have communicated that, but today they can. And I want them to communicate that. And like, even with these two children who are doing Instagram filters, you know, we've been speaking to them on what else they can do. How else can they incorporate it? Can they teach other kids to do that? You know, one of the children right now studied origami online. And she goes, I want to teach everybody how to do a lotus flower origami. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Because they're so willing to share and grow together. So our whole thing is not only about giving them the platform to express themselves, but we want to empower them so that they can choose art as a future if they want to, or they can use art as a medium to express themselves and to grow better and to do things better. And it doesn't matter what art form they choose, whether in my case it's painting and pottery and fine arts related, but it could be drama, it could be singing, it could be music. As long as it's something that they use to express, I think that makes me happy.
That's beautiful. That's excellent. So Leena, let's change gears a bit and talk about you being a recent TEDx speaker. That must have been super exciting. Can you tell us about that?
It was such a phenomenal experience. I was just so grateful. And I can't believe it's been 1 year. I mean, it took the video about 10 months to come out because of COVID. But my topic was about engineering a better you. And it's a philosophy I have been practicing for years, at some point subconsciously, and then later on a lot more consciously. And it's kept me grounded. It's a mantra, personal mantra that I use. And it takes an individual back to the basics. If I want to put it, it's a universal mentality that enables you to engineer yourself into driven, passionate people who are able to grow and evolve, you know, to practice what their soul calling is. So it had a lot of my story on it. It was very personal. The reason, you know, I got nominated for it as well was because of the change I had done from leaving the industry to going into Artazar and what prompted that. It was very personal, and I felt so blessed and so grateful to be given that opportunity.
Yeah, how fantastic. Congratulations on that. Excellent.
Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. So Leena, after 22 years in the same industry, I'm sure that it mustn't have been easy to start over with something new. So what were some of the challenges that you experienced on your new journey?
So the biggest block, if I may put it, that I faced from my peers or people around me was, are you mad? How can you sell art online? Are you really going to leave the career to do this? I mean, what's wrong? I mean, come on, you know, think about this, Leena. And I think in the beginning, I was like questioning it a bit, but then I realized it's their insecurity, not mine. You know, when I sat down with my business partner, Teena, and we roadmapped this, we're like, we knew we had something. And we both felt it in ourselves. And I go a lot with my gut when I feel something in my cells, especially when you stumble upon ideas related to content for brands. You know, you can feel it. You can feel it. Oh, I'm onto something. So with Artazar, I felt the same. So the challenge for me was not about setting up the business or even attracting artists. That I think was not the challenge. The challenge was also not about how are we going to do this. We were both open to growing and learning. We came from the same belief system. So that worked. I think the challenge was getting people's mindset to accept that, yes, these things are possible. People can do this. It's okay to go do something and come to the industry, to come and figure yourself out, but give yourself that chance to do something. If your soul truly desires it. And, you know, as I was saying that in my TEDx talk, when I had to nail down the 4 things that I do, I realized that Artazar fit that. You know, Artazar is all about expressing yourself, which is the first E of engineering. It allowed people to elevate. So, you know, by sharing knowledge with each other, classes, growing as an artist, growing your portfolio, growing your Instagram, giving them access to photographers, trying to help them grow, elevating their skills, fell into the second E. It empowered people. And that was the main thing. You needed you wanted every single artist to feel empowered, and including us as business to entrepreneurs to feel empowered that we can also do this and we can get better. And then having a vision, just envisioning a better future for everybody. And it all came together, and I realized we were okay, but we were just battling mindsets that was scared of change.
Right. I'm so surprised to hear that. I would have expected that your challenges would have been more internal conflict, but it sounds like it was more external resistance from others that could almost make you question your choices.
Yeah, for me, it was all external, especially when I told people, oh, I'm leaving. They're like, oh, she must have found a better job. She must have been going here. She was going there. I'm like, no, I'm going to go create a gallery. They're like, how? I said, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, it's not rocket science. I mean, I used to say that. Now I don't even say that anymore because really, truly, we went to Mars. So it's not rocket science. You can do this. You just need
Amazing.
to be driven.
So for some people, it might be internal. So what advice would you give to people who have that creativity, who would like to make the change, but they're too afraid to step out of their comfort zone and start over? What advice would you give them?
I'm a list person, right? So the first thing I would do is I would make a list of things of what do I want to achieve and what do I need to achieve that, right? So if I need to learn a new skill, if I need to learn a new system, if I need to do a Google course, do I need to do a Facebook course? Do I need to do a systems course? What do I need? And I think as you start to get the skills, you grow more confident. Change comes because one, you're in your comfort zone, and two, you believe incorrectly that I'm too old to learn new things, and I think that's the biggest conflict. So I always tell people learn, grow, adapt, but ask for help. There is nothing wrong in reaching out to people and saying, I don't know how to do this. Can you show me? And I did that. To be very honest, I did that. So yes, I was a media strategy. I was a director. I was doing all of this work, but I had a team that did my day-to-day jobs. I was, as a director, you only have a vision and you're going towards different things, but then you have a whole team behind you that does the day-to-day jobs.
That's making it happen, putting your vision into real
Exactly.
life.
Exactly. So something as simple as, okay, yes, you need Google Ads. Great. How do you work that system? You need help. I needed help. And I was so grateful. I would pick up the phone, to some of my juniors and some of my ex-agencies. And I'm like, okay, I need somebody to teach me how to use that system. I understand the system at a principal level because I communicate with clients, but I've never physically gone and booked a Google ad. But I had to learn to do that. And I was okay to learn it. I was okay to ask for help. And I tell people that all the time. I said, ask for help. And the juniors on your team, even your children, they know so much, especially when it comes to technology. It blows my mind. It really blows my mind. So some days I just pick up the phone and I'll tell one of the moms and I'm like, hey, can I speak to your son for 2 minutes? And I'll ask him some YouTube question that I had. And the kid knows the answer.
Yes, it is incredible, right?
It is. And it's just about us getting off our high horse and saying, I don't know this. And it's okay not to know. We're not an encyclopedia. We're not Wikipedia. Even Wikipedia doesn't know everything. It's okay to not know and just ask. So my advice to everybody is I tell them 2 things. One, learn, adapt, grow, and the second thing is ask for help. You can't do everything on your own. There are only that many physical waking hours.
Excellent. That's such good advice. So you're not suggesting people just go blindly into something.
No, please don't.
Put in the effort, upskill your abilities and be open, be willing to ask for help. That's excellent advice.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you need. And even I tell people collaborate. We could be 2 people from different skill sets, different industries who can help each other. Collaborate, create partnerships, talk to other women, talk to talk to other entrepreneurs, learn from their mistakes. They'll tell you what they did right, what they did wrong. That would be my advice to them.
Excellent advice. Honestly, it's not easy, of course, for anyone to start their entrepreneurial journey, and like you said, it's impossible to do everything on your own. So the more people can accept the fact that they're not familiar with all the concepts of that business and how they need to grow, and they reach out for help, that's the way to go. That makes absolute sense.
One of my some of the kids I teach, the boys especially, they're so cute. They're into Marvel, like I am, So we sometimes compare what I do to Avengers,
Okay.
And they have this beautiful analogy, where as a team they can help me. So it was really cute. We were doing this exhibition called Love Story in January at the Oberoi, Dubai, for the kids. And, I had my to-do list running. I needed to do videos with content with the kid. I needed to do this. I needed to do that. I was going in my head, right? So this little boy comes up to me and he says, Miss Leena, I'm like, what? He goes, you've seen Avengers. You like Avengers. I said, of course I do. Think of this entire project as we have to go tackle it together. So, you can be this character and I can be this character. So I can help you do this. I'm like, okay, because I can film all the kids. I'm like, here you go. And
Amazing.
I gave him the camera because he offered. The other child was like, oh, she can't finish it on time, so I will help her do this. So they were so cute. They found themselves little roles to come together, and they used that whole thing of how as a team you can tackle something. And these are 7, 8, 9-year-olds.
That's fantastic. Kids that age already understand the power of collaboration. That's brilliant.
They do. And how he linked it to Avengers just threw me off, but I burst out in your brain. You have a task list, you need to get it done, da. And my team knows this, and they would come and, we're humans. So we have a tendency of going back into our brains and thinking, especially me, thinking I can do everything, right? I'm Superwoman. I can do everything. But my team knows this, and I'm so glad that the children spotted this, even without me telling them, where they were telling me, look, we can help you with this. Let us help you so you can go do something else. So you can breathe. You can go have a cup of coffee and just chill. And it's so amazing how children today know this.
That's
a lovely story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's so personal and
adorable.
Yeah, they're very cute.
So, Leena, after such an incredible journey, could you tell us what are your plans for the future? Is there anything exciting that you're working on for Artazar or anything else?
Teena and I had a roadmap. Funnily enough, we achieved 90% of the tasks during COVID.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So COVID actually worked out for you.
Oh, yeah. Because one, we were already digital. So people thought, why do you need a digital gallery? And we were digital by COVID. So we were great. We were ahead of the curve there. But COVID pushed us to achieve things that we had put in 2021 to achieve. So this year for me, it's all about there's one project that I really want to get out by the end of the year. And I really want to do that with somebody I've been working with for Artazar, for my artists. That it requires a lot of system planning. So we've allocated that time in the summer because summer would slow down a bit during Ramadan and summer. It's as though I'm doing a second Artazar with it. So for me, it's literally that such a big thing that it requires that many hours, but we're so glad we're going to go do this. The second thing that we're working towards is always giving and creating opportunities for my artists to display and showcase their work. So hopefully we'll be at World Art Dubai, which is in April. And from there on, I'm looking to see how I can take the artists elsewhere. So I'm always open to collaborations with anybody who's hearing this podcast, whether they're children artists or adult artists. I'm open to collaborating and growing them further, because for me, this year is all about elevating and empowering. That's it. How do I elevate every single person from last year, and how do we empower them further?
That sounds excellent.
Yeah. Really great. Yeah. Well, thank you for answering all of those questions. We've actually come to an exciting segment of our show where we will ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Go for it.
It's kind of, like a little game show that we like to play. So are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay, great. Leena, what is your life mantra?
Grow.
Lovely. I know you've traveled a lot. So do you have a favorite gallery that you've been to?
New York Museum, Met Museum.
Excellent. Okay. I know this one might be a little tough, but could you name just one of the artists that you adore?
Degas, hands down. Edgar Degas.
Fantastic. And what is one thing you do every day, no matter how busy you are?
I meditate.
Lovely. Thank you so much for playing along. So before we wrap up, we'd like to do our green pill moment. So could you please share an inspiring or life-changing experience that you've gone through, your green pill moment?
So in 2014, end of 2013-14, I started feeling weird pain in my hands, left and right. And I started dropping things. I couldn't hold the pen properly. And I wasn't sure what was happening. At that time, I took a year off work, a sabbatical, and I went to a chiropractor and then an osteopath. And what happened is we realized that the nerves in my back are actually stopping or have affected the nerves in my hands. So they diagnosed it correctly. People before that kept saying, you have arthritis, da, da, da. I'm like, are you mad? I'm too young. What is wrong with everybody? And what happened with that was I couldn't hold a pen, let alone a paintbrush.
Wow, how scary.
Yeah, that for me, that whole year where I couldn't paint was very frustrating. I just couldn't cut a veg, like I couldn't hold a knife without knowing if I was cutting myself. I had no feeling in my hand. So if I held a cup, I wasn't sure if I was holding it because it would break. I thought I'm holding it, but I'm not.
Scary.
It was very scary because it's, your whole life starts to unravel. And you're like, what is this? I can't hold a pen. I can't sign. I can't write my name. And so they diagnosed it correctly, and I had to go through, through sessions. But the chiropractor, bless him, told me one thing, and he goes, "You're an artist," and I'm like, "Yes," because I went to him. I was literally, I was crying, showing him my hands, and I'm like, "You can't tell me I can't use my hands. You cannot. This doesn't work." So he was so switched on. He's like, "Have you ever worked with clay?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Go work with clay." And then he's like, "Find ways to paint. Use your fingers." So I started painting using palette knives, my fingers, because I couldn't hold the brush. So my style switched all of a sudden. I started doing pottery and sculptures because the clay, one, it has earth, the vibrations of the earth in it, but second, it triggers all the small nerves in your fingers that you wouldn't be aware of. And honestly, I always say the clay gave me my hands back. And from there, my second growth as an artist began, where I stumbled upon pottery, I stumbled upon sculptures, I stumbled upon the healing power of art. I mean, we've always heard about art therapy and healing power, and I've heard about it, but to experience it was a different thing. And again, as I said, I was saying that it's been one of my biggest life lessons is to leave a comfort zone of a paintbrush and the way I used to do things and experience art in a way that I never thought was possible, and just being open. So I remember when I would be doing pottery, to trim the top of your pot, it's a pointy needle-like instrument. And because I had no feeling in my fingers, I would sometimes end up poking my finger and would bleed. I asked for help. "Hi, I have a problem. Can you help me trim my pot? Because I have no feeling." and somebody would happily help me instead of me destroying my pot. And I think for me, when I was telling people, ask for help, grow, adapt, see what things change, because life has a destiny for you, but it might want you to get there in a different way. Maybe I wasn't listening, but it took me not having the ability of holding something in my hand to understand and to grow as an artist. So for me, you know, this is probably a life-changing moment as an artist.
Wow, incredible.
And that's why I use everything now. It doesn't bother me to use my fingers, to use sponges, to use papers of books, to use cloth. I paint with anything. It doesn't bother me, because it's that expression and that feeling that needs to come out. It doesn't matter what I use.
Lovely. Wow, that's excellent. What an experience, though. What's, you know, something to go through.
Yeah,
so terrifying, yet so powerful.
It was very, very terrifying, especially, you know, so funny. My dad went and bought cheap glasses.
Oh, wow.
So he'd go, let's get her the cheap glasses because she keeps breaking them.
Wow,
I couldn't
incredible.
cook. I couldn't cook I couldn't cut my own veggies for a year and a half because
Wow.
they were so scared. I was scared I would chop my finger off because I had no feeling. But just being able to hold that knife again and cut vegetables, you're like, oh, I can do this now. I'm grateful for this.
So through your art, and did you have to go through therapy or something else to reverse, or how did you get out of this?
Not, what happened is whatever nerves were dormant, if I want to put it that way, or still could be activated, got activated. There's still days I wake up where I don't have feeling, but I don't get angry about it. You know, and I'm like, okay, I can't, you know, I know today my hands are acting up. I don't get frustrated, and I just go with the flow. So it's not cured, but it's not like, if I want to put that at 100, today I'm working at 70%. So it's the 30% or 20% that I have to play with in my life. And I'm okay with that because I got 70% of it back.
Right. Wow.
You know, and I'm okay with it. So even like, you know, some days I'll be teaching the children and the brush will drop, and, you know, they'll be like, oh, you're dropping the brushes. I said, I know, I'm being clumsy, and they'll make fun out of it and I'll laugh about it. But I won't get frustrated because I understand that it's okay. It's fine. I'll be better tomorrow.
Incredible.
And, you know, at that time I'll start to paint with my fingers and the kids will start falling. So I think it's helped me open up more than anything.
Amazing. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing such a personal experience with us. We really, really appreciate that. And also for the excellent advice that you've given us throughout this conversation. I am so sure our audience is going to enjoy listening to this conversation as much as we have. You've certainly had an incredible journey so far.
It's a very, very scary and powerful experience, as I said, for sure. But thank you for sharing that with us and our listeners. So before we say our goodbyes, could you share your social media handles and your website where people can find you?
Sure. So our website is artazar.com. It's ARTEZAAR.com. Our Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is all at Artezar. Again, ARTEZAAR. I am Leena Kewlani. I'm on LinkedIn as Leena Kewlani and as on Instagram as leenakewlani.art. LEENAKEWLANI.art.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
And we'll make sure to add that to our show notes.
Thank you.
So people can find all the links.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I believe that experiences are meant to be shared. We grow from each other. I will grow from you, you grow from me. You know, and that's how life is. It's not about keeping everything within me.
To yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I don't believe in that. I've never believed in it. And I think if we all come together as the kids tell me, let's be Avengers. We can go conquer anything we want.
Absolutely.
That's lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Leena, for joining us. And we wish you and Artazar all the very best.
Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.